I'm Jess and today I'm going to do my June wrap up. So let's get started. The first book I finished in June was Melt by Celine Castrovilla. I got this for review for the blog tour. I have the blog tour review up down below. And this copy will be getting sent to my friend Book Loving Jess as soon as I possibly can. But yeah, and yeah, so I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and the 1 star loss was only for a little teeny tiny bit of insta love that annoyed me a little bit. It's kind of a sort of retelling, sort of like it's told on the backdrop of, it says, of The Wizard of Oz from the point of view of a girl called Dorothy and a boy called Joey who is who has lived in a house of domestic abuse his whole life. The next book I finished was The Beautiful and the Cursed by Paige Morgan. I have a review of this one as well because I got this one for review by Hotkey. I was reading this while I was reading Clockwork Princess, and I did put it down then, so I read like half of it in May, but it just wasn't fair on Clockwork Princess to on this book to read it at the same time as Clockwork Princess because they're very similar. This is a book set in the 1800s or early 1900s. It's set in 1899 in Paris, and it follows a girl named Ingrid and her gargoyle. So it's really, really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, I think. I will link my review down below if you want to hear more of my thoughts. The next book I read was If I Stay by Gail Forman. I read this one for the movie, which I think is coming out in August, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It just made me think so much, and even though I wasn't really connected to the characters, I saw myself in them, or like I saw what could happen to the people in my life if the same thing had happened to me as happened to the girl in this. And basically she is in a car crash and all her family dies. That's not a spoiler, it's on the back. And she kind of has an out-of-body experience where she's in a coma, but she can see everything that's happening around her. She can see all her friends and family and how they're dealing with things, and it is her choice whether she dies or whether she lives, and this is her trying to make her decision. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars for this one. And the next book I read was a new favourite, and that was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I absolutely love this book. I really, really adored it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I love the world. I love everything about it. I love the characters. I love the romance. I loved everything. I loved the writing, everything. But I have a review of this, so I don't want to say too much because I'll just go on and on and on about this book because I really, really loved it, and I can't wait to read Days of Blood and Starlight. I need it now. I need to read it soon. So yeah, that's that. Next, I finished another series, and that was the Selection series by Kiera Cass, and this is The One by Kiera Cass, and it was such a good ending to the trilogy. I read the other 2 books last year, and I've been waiting for my library to get this one so that I could read it, and I really, really, really loved it. I was so happy with the way this ended. This series is kind of, I love it, and everybody says they don't like the main character, but I don't really see it. I just whizzed through the book without even thinking about it too much, but I finished it in a day. It was so good. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars definitely. The next book was another review book, and that is Say Her Name by James Dawson. This is the first horror book I've ever read, and I have a review of this, so I'm not going to say too much, but I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because it was so scary, so good. I really want to read some more horror now. And the next book, this one made me think so much, and I really loved it, and it's already been in my top 10 books I will reread video because I just loved it that much. So yeah, that is The Giver by Lois Lowry, and I'm sure a lot of you will have read this book. It's coming out as a movie, I think September, and a lot of Americans get it given to them as like a school assignment, but we don't because it's an American book. So I just loved it. It was one of those books that just makes you think the whole way through it. It makes you question the world you live in, and I loved it, and I think I will reread it throughout my life because it's so short. It's about 179 pages long, so it doesn't take long at all. But it's just so thought-provoking. I really loved it. The next book I finished was Everybody Sees the Ants by A.S. King. I give this one another 5 out of 5 stars. Good month for 5 out of 5 stars. And I just really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed learning about the Vietnam War and about the character, and deciding whether or not I thought he was crazy or not was really fun. And basically this is about a boy called Lucky Lindemann who is bullied at school, and in his dreams he goes off to save his grandfather who never came back from Vietnam. And it's like him trying to deal with the bullying and the fact that his father's not around very much, and the fact that his grandfather isn't known to be dead or alive. So yeah, it's really interesting. I learned a lot about the Vietnam War, which I didn't know before. So yeah, really good. I might do a review of this. If you want to review any of the books in this wrap up that I haven't said a lot about, like The Giver, I think I might do a review of, because I got a lot to say about that. So if you want one, just ask and I'll probably do one. And the next book I finished was The Testing by Joelle Charbonneau. I have a review of this, so I won't say too much, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Because there were some things that annoyed me, but for the most part I really loved it. I really loved the story. Even though I could see little bits of the Hunger Games in it, I didn't think it was so much like the Hunger Games that it annoyed me. So yeah, I have a review of this, so I won't say too much. And the last book I finished in June was Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins, and I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars because while I love Suzanne Collins and while I think the writing style in this is so good and I enjoy her books and I enjoy the story, I just feel too old for this book. It's a middle grade book about a boy who falls through in an air vent and ends up in the Underland with these people and giant rats and giant bats and giant spiders and cockroaches, and they all have to work together to fulfill this prophecy, kind of like Percy Jackson. But I like it, but I don't connect with the characters at all because it's too young for me. I just felt like it was really young for me, but it's a short, quick read. If you're trying to finish as many books as possible, I definitely recommend this. So yeah, so that was my wrap up for June. I will see you in my July TBR. Goodbye.